What is up, all of my YouTube friends, and what is up, all of my X-Men 97 fans? Should we sing the song? Should we just do it? Should we all... It's so amazing that this show is actually here. I've been waiting for it for what feels like forever. I don't know, they made this announcement, and I was like, really? They're doing X-Men 97? That's a strange thing for them to do, but also when you realize how much Kevin Feige loves the X-Men, it makes a little bit more sense. And it finally dropped Wednesday. It dropped with 2 different episodes. I took a different approach. I actually waited till Saturday morning so I could have my Saturday morning cartoons, and I'm very happy I did. It was well worth the wait. Honestly, after watching both episodes, I wish that I would have recorded my reaction to show you guys, because there was definitely a few moments where I was like, oh my god, like, I don't know. I didn't expect to lose it as much as I did in this, but today I'm just going to be breaking down episode 1 and 2, kind of giving my soft review of these episodes, and then in the future, moving forward, I think I am going to be doing a reaction video to each episode, so keep an eye out for those. But let's dive in. Before we do, make sure you smash like and subscribe if you're new here. And if you don't, I guess that's okay. It's just going to cause a whole storm around here, you know what I mean? But I'm going to be honest with you guys right from the jump. You know, X-Men wasn't a huge thing for me when I was a kid. There was other things that I was more focused on, specifically Star Wars. That was like my entire childhood, but I was very much at the age where the live action films hit me, so X1, X2, and X3 were a pretty big part of growing up for me, as well as my introduction to kind of the comic book movie world. But as I've gotten older, I've had the opportunity to kind of go through a lot more of this stuff and get familiar with the comic book material, as well as familiar with the animated series. I think Screen Crush and Ryan Airy actually have a lot to thank for catching me up to speed on this series specifically, but I've gotten very familiar with the X-Men IP over the years, as well as all the characters, and so this has been something that I've been very much looking forward to. X-Men 97 is a very, very cool project, and the fact that they're continuing it like this is so freaking sweet. I know there's a lot of people out there that are asking the question, like, is this canon? Is it not canon? Honestly, I'm not sure. What's been said is that this is not specifically canon. It's just a continuation of the 90s animated show. But then you see Beast in this first episode, then you compare that to the Marvel's post-credit scene, and you're like, wait a minute, that looks kind of familiar, man. So I don't know. Who knows what Kevin Feige's thinking? But let's talk about these episodes. The first episode, episode 1, To Me, My X-Men. And the synopsis is Cyclops races to find the source of new anti-mutant technology. And honestly, this episode was very much just a reintroduction for us to the world of the X-Men, and I absolutely freaking love it. Like, from the jump, you get that iconic opening intro to the show. Whoever's pushing skip intro there just shouldn't even be allowed to continue on, because it's the best intro ever. But with that being said, diving into this first episode, Professor X is now gone, and now we have Cyclops kind of trying to take on this responsibility. Should he be in charge of the school? Is he the leader now? So he's kind of assuming that role, but there's also all this other stuff happen. But at the same time, we're getting to know all of these characters again. Wolverine and Storm, just their introduction. The opening scene, we have some sick action with Storm coming down and kind of pronouncing herself. I love Storm so much as a character because she really makes you afraid. Like, I can't imagine being in that situation and then all of a sudden all of your surroundings changing like that, and you're like, oh my gosh, what is happening? But basically, there's this little dude that they end up taking back to the school with them and saving. I don't really know what's up with him. Him and Jubilee end up getting a little bit close near the end. I don't know. It kind of felt like he couldn't be trusted. Let me know down in the comments what you think about that. Maybe I'm way off with that. He just kind of felt like he didn't want to be at the school. Maybe he's just asking questions, but maybe he has some ulterior motives as well. I'm not sure. But like it says in the synopsis, there's this anti-mutant technology that is kind of popping up here and there, Sentinel technology that's used against the mutants, and so that's what they're hunting down. Throughout the episode, they try to track down this guy named Trask, I think it was, and they go and talk to this other guy. I apologize, I forget his name. You can let me know that down in the comments too. Please correct me if I'm wrong with any of this, but they go and they talk to this guy, and Jean Grey gets into his mind, and there's this really powerful dark energy that she sees. That scene blew me away. I was like, oh my gosh, dude. There were several scenes that I absolutely loved and was vibing with throughout this first episode, especially when they go to the club too. Like, whoever did the music for this show, I was nodding my head. I was like, it was a good song. I kind of wanted to be in that club. Like, yeah, man. But something else I found funny is when they're talking to Dr. Cooper, I think was her name, and she's with the UN, when they're talking to her and she's on like the Stairmaster or like the bicycle, and she's wearing the 90s aerobic clothing. She has like the side pony. Like, I loved that. I just love how 90s and cheesy it was and how it really stuck to that. They didn't hold back at all. They did a great job throughout this first episode reestablishing everybody's powers for us so that we know what everybody does. Each character's introduction was perfect. Even Morph walking in as Charles Xavier, I was like, what the hell is going on? Wait. But they end up finding this guy near the end. He has these Sentinels. There's this huge big battle, which was freaking awesome. All of the heroes unite and come together using their powers, but they save the day. They hand that guy over to Dr. Cooper in the UN, but then they go back to the school, and this was the highlight of the entire episode. Charles Xavier didn't just leave all of his stuff to like Cyclops after he passed away. He left it all to Magneto. And so Magneto enters the picture after not showing up in the first episode, and you're like, oh my gosh! And truly, I left this first episode just being like, man, like there wasn't a single moment throughout it that I wanted to like look down on my phone or stop paying attention. Like it really kept me entertained throughout. And so I immediately moved on to the next episode, and this next episode was pretty freaking wild, and it showcased a lot of the things that I love so much about the X-Men. I think this is why a lot of people love the X-Men. It's the difference between the storyline of mutants and the storylines of basic superheroes. For instance, you got Captain America Civil War and the Sokovia Accords. What starts all of that? You have the Avengers coming together, but there's so much destruction that lays behind their path, that lays in the aftermath of their huge battle sequences and things like that. And so the world is kind of like, what the heck? Like, these heroes need to have checks and balances. Also, do we need superheroes? Like, those are the kinds of questions that come up. Mutants are a completely different thing. These are members of the population that are just born different, born with an ability. And there's a clear divide and a very realistic one in society, just kind of governing like, who are these different things? Should they be allowed in normal society? And there's this back and forth. And this is what showcases the beauty of Charles Xavier, you know, Professor X and Magneto. They're two characters because one of them believes in human beings, believes that they can understand and change, and the other one believes in mutants. He believes in his kind. They're both very much following what they believe in until they butt heads, obviously, and there's just so many different themes and variables buried within that. And so we move on to this second episode. It's called Mutant Liberation Begins, when Magneto is forced by the UN to stand trial. A group of anti-mutant rioters test his resolve. And you have a lot of stuff in the beginning of this episode with Cyclops and Jean talking about how they want to leave. You have some conversation with Jean as well as Storm talking about what it would be like to be human. I found that very interesting, as well as just anytime they show Magneto using his powers, how they have that yellow glow around his powers. I absolutely loved that. I loved the aesthetic of that, just like the look of that, I guess I mean. And he decides to go voluntarily with them, and he goes to this big kind of UN courtroom, and you get this massive feeling within this animated cartoon that the entire world is watching this scene. This is a very important thing within the world. You have Magneto, this kind of former terrorist, standing trial for his actions, but he's also sort of speaking for all of the mutants out there as well. And so things get crazy, and all of these anti-mutant people are kind of like rioting outside. They end up coming in, but the technology is really what is showcased within these first two episodes. And this guy has this gun that can literally shoot the mutant out of somebody. It's very much like a Korra in a Mon type situation where he can take the bending from these benders. Like, I thought this was really intense, and when Storm dove in front of Magneto and she gets her powers taken away, and just how the episode ends with her walking away, and you just don't really know, is Storm ever going to get her powers back? That is very, very intense, and that's a very, very important thing. We just started the show, and what, all of a sudden Storm is gone? Like, there's just no more Storm. Like, her powers are gone. I found that so interesting. And then on the other side, you have Magneto giving this huge speech to everybody before everybody comes in, and basically the entire UN saying that we need to lock you up, but then he shows that he can be diplomatic. He shows that he can stand for what is right. He can change. And when he lifts everybody up into the freaking sky, like, I thought he was going to kill them. I really did. But then he doesn't. He saves them. He turns it around on them and basically vindicates himself in the process. But obviously in the end, it really is about this tech that is out there that can possibly take away the mutants' powers, you know, just getting one shot and then all of a sudden you don't have powers anymore, and kind of what it means that Storm is gone. It's really sad. You also have Jean and Cyclops. They have a kid now. Like, they she gave birth and they have a kid now, so that's super fun. But then there's a knock at the door in the end, very much like last episode. It ends on a cliffhanger, and you have Jean Grey at the door, but Jean Grey is inside, and she's like, I need to see the X-Men. And I don't know, make of that what you will. Let me know down in the comments what you think of all that. Let me know if you have any answers for me there. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to hear your thoughts. In my head, I'm kind of thinking Mystique maybe, or something like that, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's a Jean Grey from a different universe. It totally could be. But all in all, these first 2 episodes were absolutely perfect for me. They showed all of my favorite characters again. They got us back interested in this world again, and I cannot wait for the 3rd episode to come out and to be able to watch it and just to be able to continue this show and get hyped for the X-Men coming to the MCU. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Keep an eye out, like I said, on my channel. I will be reacting to the next episodes that come out, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Also, like I said, leave me a comment down below and let me know all your thoughts. I read every single comment that comes in, guys, and I always appreciate them. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you smash like and subscribe if you're new here. Click on another video. You can follow me on X at JonesVibesOnly, and don't forget to keep up the good vibes, guys. But X-Men 97 is here, and should I do it again? I'll do it again.